New Jurassic World Rebirth scenes have been teased, showing us our lead paleontologist wading through a swamp, a group of the elite team looking up at something in that long grass, a scene with Scarlett and Johansson in a laboratory, and even Zora gearing up with one of those cool new Jurassic Park vehicles that have been rumored to be in the movie. We've got a lot of new plot and character info to go over directly from Gareth Edwards himself, so let's go ahead and jump right into this stuff. What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now, the first image that we see for Jurassic World Rebirth happens to be of Bashir Sylvain, Jonathan Bailey, and Scarlett Johansson wading through a swamp. Many people are taking note of how this movie is looking way different from what we've seen in a while, and looking much more like what you'd expect to find in The Lost World Jurassic Park. Scarlett Johansson seems to be carrying something behind her, but it's hard to really tell what it is, and it looks like it's some kind of case containing either gear or maybe the DNA samples that they've been trying to collect. Now, first things first, guys, this information is coming hot off the heels of what David Koepp went over very recently. He told us a lot of how this movie is trying to harken back to the original Jurassic Park stuff, and since he wrote both Jurassic Park and The Lost World, check that video out as soon as you can, because you're going to get a way better picture of everything that Rebirth has going on for it. By the way, whatever the context for this swamp scene happens to be, the article that accompanies the picture states that Gareth Edwards shot this scene after seeing a bunch of venomous snakes in the water, and they had to catch them before they shot the scene. To quote the director, "We kept it quiet from the actors as they spent the whole day wading through the same area. And there were giant spiders that were poisonous and stuff on the edge of the trees. You just wouldn't point them out if you saw them." I gotta say, that's kind of insane to even think about, but it does sound like something akin to Raiders of the Lost Ark in terms of actual real-life shooting conditions, which is ironic. So apparently, there were also some water stunts done in Malta. Gareth said that it may be the last film he ever shoots on the ocean, though, because it was very difficult, but he's glad everyone pushed through. This whole movie had a very tough time getting shot, by the way the article makes it sound. By the way, it looks like another one of those images that got released may be inside of a boat. If you look closely to the background, it looks like we can see a boat window. So if this is some kind of new mobile lab, kind of like what we got in the Lost World Jurassic Park with that RV, only this time made for the ocean, that's a pretty inventive idea. Also, in that shot, it looks like Scarlett has pulled out a case on top of a map of the island that they're going to, or maybe it's just some sort of sea charting thing. She's talking to Dr. Henry Loomis here about something that I'm going to assume has to do with acquiring DNA samples from the dinosaurs. All in all, this is looking way better than I think a lot of people expected, and way more normal and grounded, I guess is a way you could put it. It also just feels way different from what Colin Trevorrow shot, way less fantastical and way more grounded and scientific. Now we have yet another long grass scene for our next image, this time featuring Rupert Friend, Mahershala Ali, and Bashir Sylvain looking up at something which I'm pretty sure we can all assume to be a dinosaur. Probably a nice one, judging by their smiles. Anyways, we've seen a ton of stuff from this long grass scene over the course of the last few months. I think we've got at least 3 or 4 images of it, and by the way, we do have more plot details revolving around this stuff. So apparently Martin Krebs here is the big pharma guy who is way less Peter Ludlow and way more suave, like a James Bond kind of way. He's written up to specifically not be the normal cliche corporate figure in a Jurassic Park movie, so that's gonna be interesting to see how they pull that off. Also, Bashir is 100% getting eaten in this movie. It's just my opinion. Kind of think it's inevitable. Our last picture is just straight up awesome in my opinion. I saw this image and immediately thought of The Lost World. It looks like if Sarah Harding joined the hunter team on Isla Sorna. We have a really cool jungle terrain vehicle back there too, and she's once again carrying that special case. The costume department in this movie is really good in my opinion. Duncan Kincaid already looked really cool, and now Scarlett Johansson's stuff as Zora Bennett. This is a Jurassic Park kind of a wardrobe. It's just very, very fun to me. One thing to make note of, by the way, for this image isn't just the very old school Jurassic feel, but her equipment and gear looks like it's specialized for something like rock climbing, or maybe grappling on some sort of rocky surface, maybe out on the ocean or something else in the movie to get dinosaur DNA. The overall tone of this is just super fun in my opinion, and I can't wait to see what the car looks like in action for this movie. This thing really is shaping up to be like a live action adaptation of that arcade game from a few years ago. Speaking of Zora, Gareth Edwards describes her as a special ops ex-CIA type. She has a sibling-like bond with Mahershala Ali's character Duncan Kincaid, who is her most trusted ally who captured captains their team's ship. He's described as a kind of Ahab character in the movie. I guess a Roland Timbo boat captain type. And then we have the paleontologist who is out of his depth in terms of military experience. He's very comfortable on digs, but not the life and death risks that Kincaid and Zora are getting into. But Gareth also stated that the dynamic between them mimics Jaws, with Brody, Hooper, and Quint. He said, quote, "It's that kind of triangle between three different overlapping characters. There's a lot of fun between the three of them that really popped out to me. It's less of a love triangle and much more of a competitive who's the alpha in the group kind of way." Gareth also commented on the CGI for this movie by saying, "Jurassic Park did lead the way for computer graphics, but I feel like we got lost along the way with the arms race to a spectacle. Jurassic actually only had just a few dozen VFX shots in it, and it's such a powerful film, so it was trying to go back to all of those tricks and ideas that tease the audience, that creates suspense and tension that gets you on the edge of your seat. I just wanted to create that feeling I had when I was young and being in awe of these things. Once you're on the adventure, the film doesn't let go until the end credits. The enjoyment of it is in the moment-to-moment chase, escape, scare, horror, curveballs, and the whole plotting of the set pieces and the dinosaur moments." So all of that sounds really good. Gareth also stated that he can't speak for Universal themselves, but the new movie feels to him like the beginning of a new trilogy in a way. He said again, quote, "I'm not sure what their plans are, but it felt like the beginning of a brand new chapter in this franchise. To me, it's a giant love letter to Steven Spielberg and his earlier films. There are moments in this movie that remind me very much of Jaws. It's like little greatest hits of all of those aspects of his films that I loved growing up as a child. It's essentially a little adventure odyssey across the island, a survival story, really." So it looks like the way the other group of civilians gets involved in this film has something to do with Zora intercepting a mayday signal from a capsized boat after some prehistoric monsters attack it. So on top of pulling off this mission, the crew now has to worry about the safety of the Delgado family who are trying to get off the island alive, while the elite group is on a mission to actively engage the dinosaurs themselves. It sounds very much like a Lost World Jurassic Park kind of a story, and it all seems really good to me. Now, one thing I do want to say, guys, these images look great. I really am digging the feel of Jurassic World Rebirth, and again, if you haven't already, go back and watch the video I released yesterday on David Kepps talking about the actual goal of Jurassic World Rebirth and what they're trying to do with this new movie. Personally, I've heard all this stuff before. When people say stuff like, "We're going back to what made it good again, I'm going to be doing a greatest hits thing of Spielberg," yada yada yada, that can go one of either two ways. You could give us a really good sequel, or it could be kind of run-of-the-mill and cliche. And I'll just say this, I actually do have faith that Jurassic World Rebirth will be a better movie than a lot of people think. Like, I actually do think, if anything, it's probably going to be the best Jurassic World movie. I gotta say, I've seen a lot of people say they went from being cautiously optimistic to now being very optimistic, because Jurassic World Rebirth really does seem to be like a new chapter, a new beginning of this franchise that could be very, very successful, and righting the wrongs that we've seen a lot of stuff like fall into over the last several years when it comes to gigantic IP properties getting sequels. I do want to say he compared it to Jaws a lot. If you haven't already, I reviewed both the original Jaws and Godzilla -1 on my Dragon Curve channel, so I compared both those movies a lot when I did those reviews. Check those out if you're interested in just seeing what I personally have to say about some movies that are actually really, really good. This one looks like it's going to be pretty solid, but we're going to have to wait and see. What do you guys think? What is your favorite picture that they've released, and what do you think of all of the information that's come out surrounding the plot, the characters, and the direction that they're taking this whole film series in? These are great pictures, all four of them. And if I had to pick my favorites, it would definitely be wading through the swamp and also having that case and the cool vehicle in the background. Tonally, this looks like it's going to be really, really fun. I wouldn't be shocked if this is the best Jurassic Park since The Lost World for a lot of people like myself. But hey guys, tell me what you think. Whatever your own thoughts and opinions happen to be, I'd love to hear all about them in the comments down below. Now, before I go, I want to thank everyone that's helped me build my channel over the years. I'd also like to thank every one of you guys who've watched my stuff. You've all been extremely cool to me. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like and hope that you'll consider subscribing. God bless you all. Christ is King. See you guys in the next video. And as always, take it easy.